We are live with another edition of the Rockpile Report on YouTube. Technical difficulties, guys. We gotta iron some things out over here. At one point there was 7 of you waiting for this thing to go live, and then we took it down and redid it, and took it down and redid it. And now I'm pretty sure I'm talking to nobody, but that's okay. We'll figure it out, right?
Yeah. Well, it says we're live.
Allegedly.
Let
me see here. Do I see it? I still don't see myself. It says I'm still waiting.
I see you on the screen.
Of course you do. Guys, it's always fun. It's always fun doing these things and trying to.
Why don't we start with so I can fucking wail on you? How about that?
How about this?
No, let me.
I still don't see any video. Everything's still coming up. I'm looking at the screen.
No, we're live. We're live on YouTube right now.
We have 2 videos listed as upcoming.
All right,
Both of them were scheduled as of 6/6. There's
Let
nothing
me
live.
Wail on you for a minute here. So Sunday night, I'm up.
We're still not live.
We are live. I have a live video in front of me. Sunday night, I took some time out of my evening to spend some time with, I wanted to put together a good reel to put out Monday on our Instagram account. I put out pictures of Buck Nasty. You're showing me your YouTube. All right, I put out pictures of Buck Nasty, Silky Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is in there? Ice-T.
Ice-T.
I make this nice reel, and I put it up on our Instagram account. If you want to follow us on Instagram, at The Rockpile Report is our handle. Yeah, let's mute that there, guy. Put it up. I get to work at, I don't know, 11, I'm starting to work, and I'm like, let me see how this is doing. I want it to do well. I put effort into making this reel. And I open our notifications on Instagram, and I see that the video is liked by Magilla Gorilla 19842024.
It's because that's my throwaway email address that's tied to my Facebook account. Because here's the thing. Instagram no longer allows you to just have like, hey, I don't have an Instagram account, but I can watch videos that people will put in like a messenger chat. Or if someone texts you a link to an Instagram video, Instagram now no longer lets you just go look at it as a web page. So I was like, fine, Facebook, you win. I want to see this funny thing my friend sent me. So it said it created one and tethered it to my Facebook profile. So whatever you saw is just an extension off whatever horseshit email I made up to open Facebook.
I was real mad. Magilla Gorilla 1928202024. You just like, yeah, let's get on Instagram and make it look like I'm a fucking bot.
How old, like, first of all, how many old people do you think have numbers in their name? Like, whatever username they make, they can't just make one. It has to be like some word they know and then a number that's familiar to them.
Yeah, but when you make an Instagram handle, you don't do whatever words you're going to use followed up by your birthday, your wedding date,
your address number,
your address, the day your mom died, the day your dad died, the day you lost a sibling, all these fucking numbers. You look like a fucking bot.
All right.
When I clicked on it. It made me why don't you just
now that you've ruined the algorithm by dousing this thing in profanity right out of the gate, producer. Like, this is what I love about Chris. He can sit here with a straight face and give me all these producer notes about how you should do YouTube. And then he comes on here and just absolutely by himself destroys the entire destroys the entire thing. Here from top to bottom. Guys, we have what I think will be a fun show tonight. You tell me. This is what's fun about live commentary. We're here tonight with this week's Bills News Update.
Oh, I'm not even ready.
Of course you're not. See, guys, look, he's bad luck Schleprock. What am I doing here?
I have to scroll through all of our
yeah, because I asked him, guys, we were supposed to be live at 7 o'clock. We fight, like the fights that he and I have here when the microphones are off are hilarious. Like, I wish people could be here to see him. It'd be like Kevin Spacey and his wife in, what is that? What's that movie that he made? where he gets killed at the end of it?
That one.
American Beauty. You and I fight like the husband and wife in American Beauty. And you know who I want to fight the way Kevin Spacey wanted to fight his wife?
Bobby Babbage?
No. I didn't think that I'd be starting my week off with the Buffalo Bills catching strays during NHL press conferences. That wasn't on my bingo card this week. But here we are. Edmonton's going to play Florida for the Stanley Cup. Florida was in the Stanley Cup last season. And during a press conference, new Edmonton Oilers head coach Chris Knobloch gets asked if he thinks experience is going to be an advantage for the Florida Panthers, having been in the Cup and lost. His quote was, "Well, you can ask the Buffalo Bills how important Super Bowl experience is." I love when I can give Chris notes and he asks for them and I give them to him and then he misses the drop. So that's cold as ice. Like that's abusive. I don't need that as a Buffalo Bills fan. And it's tough because I wanted to like this guy, right? Like I want to root for Edmonton. Chris, can we at least agree, based on everything else that's gone wrong here tonight, can we at least agree on the idea that we do not want the Florida Panthers winning the Stanley Cup this year?
I want Edmonton to win. When I heard Knobloch say that, seal the deal. I want Edmonton. Because of what Knobloch said. Yeah, ask the Bills how experience is. Go Edmonton. Fuck those idiots in Florida.
It's one of these things. Florida has all of these former Sabres players on it, for those of you who don't know. It's hard to reconcile how much of this I can take. Ryan O'Reilly leaves the Buffalo Sabres, wins the Stanley Cup. Jack Eichel leaves the Buffalo Sabres, wins the Stanley Cup within his first 2 years at the team he went to. Now you have 6 former Buffalo Sabres all on the prohibitive Cup favorite. I'm not doing this. I do not want it. And so at the same time, I will begrudgingly root for Edmonton, but at the same time, here's what I'll say to that coach. First of all, Chris, you think you're funny. First of all, your name starts with a K, a KR, which means it's a soft. You're the softest Chris on earth. Softer than this guy. You are softer than my Chris, which is hilarious. Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup in 30 years, and you invented the damn game. Also, the Baltimore Stallions. Yes, I want you to hear that. The Baltimore Stallions, which means a team based in the United States, has won the CFL's Grey Cup more recently than any one of the 7 Canadian franchises could win a Stanley Cup. I will see them in hell. All right? Them and that comment can all go to hell.
I was trying to find out, and I can't find it. I don't know if Knobloch's middle name also begins with a K.
You're an idiot.
Back-to-back weeks with that joke, baby.
I just wonder when our listeners are just going to firebomb your house. It'd be funny to me, to be honest.
They don't know where I live.
Half of them ship things here.
The good ones.
Now, if we're talking about people getting hate, I had this interesting thought, and I've been trying to do research on it, but it all started from something I heard while listening to the Rich Eisen show. MLB's Angel Hernandez retired from the game of baseball, and no one will miss him. Right, Chris?
No.
You're more the baseball guy than me. What is your relationship, or at least what do you know of Angel Hernandez?
All I know is that this guy makes shit calls all of the time. Like egregious calls. Calls that aren't even close. He'll call a strike that's 1.5 foot outside the zone. Mind-boggling.
It is kind of funny, right? Like when you think about like the impact an official can have on a game and how hated one man can be. Now, here's what's funny. We tweeted out a little while ago over at our Twitter handle, at Rockpile Report on Twitter. Somebody made a thread. This was my first thing. They were like, oh, Angel Hernandez retired today, which means I get to post a thread of all of his failures as an NFL or an MLB official. And I figured like, oh, okay, it's going to be like a 5-slide thing. No, this was like when you talk about a thread, Chris, 17 tweets. How does one official get that many cracks at this while also screwing up games that badly?
I mean, he is in a union, so it was hard. It's hard for baseball to tell the umpires union, hey, we need to. What can we do to get this man out of baseball? So it took a while, and you don't know there has to be other incentives that he received for him to just flat out retire, because that is a cush job.
So I was listening to the Rich Eisen show and I heard this, and it got me thinking. Trust me, there's a Bills skew here, and I follow me. But I heard this audio from Jeff Passan over at the Rich Eisen show.
I think sometimes we take for granted what social media actually does and how it brings out the absolute worst in a lot of us. And I think the easiest way to do this, and the easiest standard by which any of us, frankly, should live, is, would I say it to the man's face? Any of the stuff we say on social media about Angel Hernandez, if you were confronted with Angel Hernandez, would you say it to his face? Would you call him the names that you call him online? Would you tell him how terrible he is? A lot of that stuff, frankly, led to him going away. He got tired of it. He got tired of the social media firestorm that exists. And that, frankly, I will acknowledge this, is understandable, because there were parts of his job where he was genuinely bad.
There you go. Jeff Passan, baseball writer on the Rich Eisen show. I think Rich Eisen show's on the Roku channel.
So you hear this, and this is Jeff Passan trying to explain to everybody that he feels bad for the way this guy was treated and how he feels that social media bullying played a role in him leaving the sport. And also that we should be nice to each other on social media and say the things we would only say in public. Chris, you have borne witness to me telling someone that I'll murder their family.
Yeah.
Full stride, not a break. I don't know whether it's true or not. In the moment it came out of my mouth. In the moment I felt it. Not everybody feels restricted. Kind of a thing. I mean, I remember Ozzie Guillen in the Angel Hernandez aftermath talking about how he remembers going to the plate, having a spat with Hernandez over a call, and asking him if he was drunk. It's like, are you drunk right now? Which is, in and of itself, hilarious. Because that guy didn't give a damn. He just said it. I think you're intoxicated and you suck at your job. And I think that it's how you should handle those things. It got me thinking, if there was one NFL official that you could, as a Bills fan, bully out of their job, who would it be, and why is the answer Sean Hockley? Why is Sean Hockley the NFL's Angel Hernandez? And why are we as Bills fans constantly getting the short end of the stick because of it?
I would have gone a different way, because in what Passan said about, everything that we write on the internet, would you say it to the person's face? For me, it's not as much as an NFL official, would you say it to their face? I would like you to say the things you've said in the past to Richie Incognito's face.
Oh my God. Listen, my favorite thing is that he's one of the few people who have, well, I'm sure there's a lot of people who have blocked and muted us on social media, but he's the first one who I'm like, wait a minute, I don't even talk to you. What's your beef, guy? You're a psychopath. And somehow I'm too much for you. What did I do to possibly offend that guy? It's wild to me. Although, yes, I think if I did, Chris, if I were to say the things that I have said about the Bills' offensive line in general over the years in front of Richie Incognito, I would probably end up folded up into a hot pocket. Like, that's conceivable, right? He might even find a microwave that would fit me.
Lauren in the comments, Drew needs a sensor like they have on refrigerators to remind him to replace his filter.
That is true. I've said and done a lot of inappropriate things in public, of which I'm blessed to have my wife, because her attitude is constantly, no matter what you do or say, I'm not the one who looks like an idiot and I don't wear it. That's on you.
Do you want to derail the show for a second?
Not really.
Jessica in the comments wants to know if you paid off that bet to Greg Thompson for a steak dinner.
Steak dinner bet? Not yet.
Yeah, we went to the
Well, no, we did.
yeah, we went to the Western Door, and then we went to the Flyers Sabres game. That is the game that Dylan Cousins got his face annihilated by Garnet Hathaway and promptly nosedived Dylan Cousins' season as a whole because he was playing scared.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. There was a funnier part about that, which he will, like, Greg can tell you about. We were at that game, and the guy in front of us turns around as soon as the first period ends. Not only, Jessica, look what you did now. You derailed the show. We're at the Sabres game. Greg's here, I'm here. I had made a comment earlier in the offseason about how there was a player on the Sabres. They all get to pick their own goal song. They scored a goal, and there's a guy, Yoki Haru, on the team who's a defenseman who's never going to score in a million years, but he picked Iron Maiden's The Trooper as his goal song. And I was like, this is amazing. I'll never get to hear it, but I love the fact that a goal, like someone picked that to play in a building when they score a goal. He scored the Sabres' only goal that night, and I'm up playing air guitar. Just, woo, we're losing 4-1. It doesn't matter. That might have been the highlight of my night, but the second one was the fact that Greg Thompson, with his giant following and everything that he has going on for him, had kind of put out there into the ether of like, hey, I'm going to be at the Sabres game. People stop by, say hi. So as soon as the first period ends, the gentleman in front of us, he's probably in his mid to late 40s, turns around and goes, hey, I just wanted to, like, I recognized your voice like this, whatever, like, it's so cool to meet you in person. But he's talking about me, not Greg. And to see Greg's face, I was like, oh, yeah, that's a thing that just happened to you.
Well, you went to the team store, too, at the intermission.
So at intermission, my wife wants to go buy my kids some things. So we go down to the team store, and we walk in, and these two kids are probably in their early 20s are walking by, and they go, yo, that's that dude we saw on YouTube. And again, I got to watch the face of somebody go, obviously they're talking about me. And they come over, and they're like, yo, you were drunk as hell. And they're talking to me. And I was like, oh, sorry. Yes, I was. And my wife's just embarrassed, but not really. She's like, whatever, you're an idiot. I'm going to go over here.
You fought a homeless guy on the subway?
That did happen years ago.
Doug Verlasky.
That did happen. But so then the key was, the cherry on top was, we're at the Odd Club at the intermission for the second period. We go out, we're going to get drinks. And this couple who we know, I know them through Iman, tailgating, cookouts at Iman's house, but they know me in real life, not podcasting. But they come up and they're just like, Drew, what are you doing? And Greg goes, for the love of God. It was just the funniest thing to watch. It's like, oh yeah, buddy, for some reason, see, like, you're the smart guy. I stand out in a crowd and people remember this face. Like this face you can pick out in the crowd. So back to Sean Hockley. If there was one official who you think that we could pile on to and get to quit his job, it almost has to be Sean Hockley, isn't it? A part of me wishes that they would forecast who they schedule, Chris, the way that we have the Bills schedule. I wish we had the NFL officials schedule. Because here's what I can tell you. For the years that Sean Hockley has been a referee, right? So you got to go all the way back. He was a back judge. 2018, he becomes a full-time referee. His first game, Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens, 2018. How did that game go for the Buffalo Bills?
I don't remember which was there a significant game.
Nathan Peterman started that game and got hooked at halftime. That was Sean Hockley's first game.
All right.
That was Josh Allen's first game. I almost feel like something weird happened and we got tied at the hip. Like, did Josh Allen like have an interaction with him at some point in that game that just set us off on this skewed kind of... You would almost feel like the way he's officiated Buffalo Bills games that there is some kind of vendetta there. And it's interesting that his first game as an official comes in Josh Allen's first game. Fast forward to this past season, and even the season before it. You talk about our game against the Patriots. He officiated that game. There were some calls, right? Not as many, but there were some calls. What I love is the Bills-Eagles game this year. Sean Hockley. One of the poorest... If you Google Sean Hockley worst officiating, that Bills-Eagles game is the first Google result that comes up.
Horse collar to Josh Allen.
Missed horse. And this is where I go, did something happen all those years ago back in 2018 that you just hate our quarterback? Like, what happened here? How did this guy become so... Because you can't... Like, when's the last time... They were saying there was no flags against the Eagles, like, until late in the game?
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
Not often.
When he officiates the games about the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, it's like, oh no, obviously we drew this guy. Oh wait, there's no meaningful flags thrown against the Kansas City Chiefs?
No.
None? And then our only sack of the game gets taken away on a flag? Guys, if there is one official that I think we need to combine our social media powers, like it's proven it works. Angel Hernandez is proof that it works, and I think we need to focus our energy on just bullying Sean Hockley in every way we can. I don't think social media is enough. I think that if people knows where he lives, we should rent planes and just have them flying over his home with offensive things written on banners. I think we should be paying for mailer campaigns to just come in with the rest of his mail. It's an envelope. It looks like junk mail. You open it and go, what is this? A local car dealership trying to give me something? No, with the Bills logo on it, it's all of the fan signatures of people who literally want him to throw himself into the Great Valley Ravine.
We could pull a beefcake.
What's that?
Where you send him anthrax in the mail, like Brutus the Barber beefcake.
We're not doing that. Chris,
hey,
I think what you just advocated for might be a felony. So, hey, nobody out there do that.
Lauren in the comments, seeing Drew is like seeing Harambe. You can't miss him.
You do know that's when the world went to shit, right? When we lost Harambe?
Yeah. We do have inter-chat discussion, or at least Terry White is trying to bait Lacel into talking about NFL Europe division because he's got to drink so many Seagrams for it.
Someone's coming Drew the Doxer. Yes, we need to dox Sean Hockley, but only for the purposes of being petty, right? I don't want any vandalism. I don't want anything. I just want people to, because again, I think we can erode the man's confidence in himself over a long enough timeline. Angel Hernandez is proof. I thought he was bulletproof. Now, changing gears. OTA notes, and I want to talk about Gable Stevenson a little bit. And I want to preface this all by saying I despise OTA talk. It's nonsense. And I get it. The guys who work for the radio station have to do it. You have to pretend like this matters. It largely doesn't. There's no contact. So line play, which is the backbone of the entire sport, is wholly irrelevant. I have been tricked too many times into believing that there's this guy who's just standing out and he looks so sharp and oh man, it's going to be great because this guy is really coming on and well, what about his chances? And it starts all these narratives that the local journalists can run with and write about. And that's great. But that's how you find yourself in a place like we do this week where everyone's talking about how, you know, who's standing out is Chase Claypool. Ugh. God, stop it. Stop it. Let's not talk ourselves into the Chase Claypool experiment.
He better get cut.
Look, he should look like the most polished person on the field if you factor in how long he's been in the NFL, how many different buildings he's had to walk into and like, oh, I gotta prove myself and I gotta apply myself and I gotta learn how to say all the right things. He should look and sound like a gem, especially because he's a big dude with a big catch radius who, in uncontested space, can do all kinds of great things for you. That's the reason he was drafted in the second round. Of course he's going to look great. Don't come to me with articles about how his career could be on the rebound and everything else. He is still the same guy who, Chris, how many years? Give it a goog. How many years into his NFL career was he last year? I can't remember the year he was drafted. If you know in the chat, let me know. You've been in the league for how long and you still can't figure out the proper depth you need to run a route that your quarterback is absolutely going to throw to you on no matter where you are.
2020 draft.
Okay, so you've been around for 4 years? You've been around for 4 years now.
Here's what happened. He got Roethlisberger at the end of Roethlisberger's career. Then he got shipped to Chicago, and then he turned into the attitude of Randy Moss in Oakland, where he just had to complain because he had nobody to fucking throw to him. Then he went to Miami. You got an offensive head coach. You got Tua, who I think is working because of the head coach. The head coach knows to get the most out of Tua and Tua's talents. And Claypool couldn't do dick. And now this is your last chance.
I'm supposed to believe that with a first-time offensive coordinator, you're coming into our building after having been in the most high-profile offense the AFC has seen in a while. When's the last time an AFC, or at least AFC East team, when's the last time an AFC East team scored 70 points in a game? That's Tecmo Bowl. You played for that football team, and not only did you make zero impact, you were a detriment like actively every time you were on the field. So if you can't do it there, I have no delusions of grandeur about this guy. And yet we're sitting here talking about how, well, this guy looks good and this is going to be great, or it's a redemption story and let's talk all about it. I couldn't care any less.
You want to go to a stat? I'm pulling up a stat line.
Sure.
From the 70-20 game. Where do we have Clay? Was he even on the team? I don't see him listed.
No, because he's not right. Because he's not listed as a roster player. You got to go all the way down. Yeah, to find his stats, you have to really work for it.
I meant specifically out of that game.
Oh, out of that game? No. I don't think he had any statistics except for the fact he was targeted on the game-sealing interception because they were like, "Well, we've tried everything else. Screw it. We're going to throw to Claypool." Wrong. You're talking about Chase Claypool. I love this. And this isn't to disparage the reporters who go out there and do the job and try to make their bones covering the team because obviously fans are hungry for content. There's a reason you're all here listening to me being an idiot behind a microphone with a drink in each hand. We're hungry for content. We want conversation. We want to feel something correlated to our favorite sport, our favorite team. You talking about Coleman and Claypool making highlight plays in OTAs does absolutely nothing emotionally for me. And I think more fans need to join me in that. Here's what I find interesting. Matt Milano's on track, but he's not practicing yet. Now, he doesn't even have a uniform. He's in street clothes. It's going to be a while. And so when he broke his leg back in week 5 last year, you think about the recovery timeline for that and you go, okay, he should be back by about OTA's training camp. Right now I'm willing to just, hey, this is precautionary and I like that they're taking a slow approach because if there's anybody who, trust me, if there's anybody who doesn't need conditioning, it's Matt Milano. Have you seen that guy? Matt Milano is a hunk. That dude is a stud. Physically, I don't know. He's going to need time, right, to ramp up. But if they want to have him just working working behind the scenes, come out here to practice. You've got the whole summer. Chris, do you think there's a world where the Bills have to start the preseason without Matt Milano?
I don't think so, but if you want to talk about OTA gems, in the one segment I heard either on Tuesday or Wednesday morning, Sal Capaccio on the radio was like, I saw Gable Stevenson standing next to other defensive tackles. Dude's fucking small.
Yes. All right, let's talk about Gable Stevenson for the probably first and last time on this podcast ever. Gable Stevenson is not an NFL football player.
He's your for OT darlings or OTA darlings and preseason darlings. He'll probably be right up there with Brandon Riley.
Here's the most notable thing he's done since winning a gold medal. He was a failed jobber. Imagine being a failed version of the Brooklyn Brawler in wrestling. Like, you're going to go into the WWE and you can't even find a way to be the guy who gets his ass kicked every week for a paycheck.
I'm going to cut you off right there because Scott Mason will get mad at me if I don't cut in. He got signed to the WWE because they thought he could be, and I'm only using this in the terms of where they came from, the next Brock Lesnar. Because Brock Lesnar got signed to the WWE like right after his college wrestling career. Gable Stevenson signed right after his collegiate wrestling career, and they wanted to get him in, and they thought he had the potential to be the next Brock Lesnar.
At 5'11"?
Yes.
At 5'11", he's going to be that. Brock Lesnar was good in the WWE. I, who hates wrestling, knows that Brock Lesnar was the biggest, most physically imposing man to set foot in a wrestling ring since either The Big Show, Diesel, Hulk Hogan. Like, it's Scott. So what is that? Scott Hall? Not Scott Hall. What's his face?
Scott Mason.
No, Scott Mason. Who was the actor who played Diesel?
Kevin Nash.
Kevin Nash. So Kevin Nash. The Big Show. Who? Maybe who was the guy? Sexual Chocolate?
Mark Henry.
Mark Henry. So you had these guys as like the most physically imposing people to ever get in the wrestling ring. The Undertaker. I'll give him that too.
Well, you'd have to go down.
A 5'11" guy?
You would have to go down the.
That's my height. I'm 5'11".
You'd have to go down the list of Olympic / collegiate wrestlers. So your Brock Lesnar's, your Kurt Angles, Chad Gable is an Olympic wrestler. The fact that you put Gable Stevenson in the same category, well, it's not Gable. See, the fact that you just listed Kevin Nash in with Olympic and high-profile collegiate wrestlers makes me want to rip off one of these monitors off my desk and smash you in the face in it.
Now, here's who you want to talk about being angry. You know who should be angry? Look, Gable Stevenson, great story. He's a wrestler. Here's what I don't like. I don't like reading that the Bills previously had interest. They were like, hey, don't sign with the WWF. Sign with us. The Bills tried to sign him last year. Or 2 years ago, whatever the hell it was. 2021, the Bills were like, don't go to the WWE. Come try out for our team. Why? Why are we doing this? What, because he can wrestle? Like, Sean McDermott, like, people are like, oh, well, it's not funny to make fun of that trope. It's a trope at this point.
You just said it, Sean McDermott, wrestling. You know the connection.
He's literally on the phone going, come on, Gable, come on now. You want to come here and play? What an idiot. You're going to try to recruit this guy. What? Because he wrestled once. Do you know who that's an insult to? Here you are. You're talking about who should be insulted. How about every single D tackle currently on the roster? Every D tackle who's not a like, hey, I'm a de facto starter. If you look at the depth chart, the depth guys should feel insulted by this, right? If you look at the guys like Eli Anku, with real NFL experience. There you go. Thanks for putting it up there. Deshaun Williams. Branson Dean, you're like, they're looking at this guy going, I have to share a locker room with this dude. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He doesn't have any blocking technique. He doesn't have any technique whatsoever. I have to share a locker room with him like he's on my level. I'll take it a step further. How about every single D tackle who's out there with experience on the market right now? Looking at it going, I'd kill for a roster spot in Buffalo. You mean to tell me that they're going to bring in that guy instead of giving me an opportunity? And for everybody who's like, well, they're all old and expensive. There's a guy out there who was a defensive tackle for 2 years for the Atlanta Falcons named Albert Huggins. If you called Al Huggins right now and said, hey, do you want to come be on the Bills 90-man squad going into training camp versus, I don't know, sitting on your couch? He would jump at the opportunity. And this is a guy with NFL experience. No. Let's bring in a wrestler.
But
I hate it.
But true.
I hate it.
Gable Stevenson said he's going to be in the hip pocket of Von Miller.
That's not even the position. What are we doing? It infuriates me. It's Chris, you know what it is? This feels up there with Rex Ryan eating dog biscuits and riding a fucking tandem bike. This is a clown show.
I've had dog biscuits before.
Unfortunately, so have I. Hey,
hold on.
Cheers
hold
to
on.
that.
Did you like do it for money, or was there a thing involved?
No, I was.
You just did it freely.
It's funny you say it. I was like 8 or 9 years old, and we were watching WWF Superstars on a Saturday at my Uncle Paul's house. And he brought out a bag of these things called pepperonis. And I didn't question it. He's an adult. Well, I'm not. And he brought out a bag of snacks, and we started eating them. And I remember thinking, like, they're a little dry, but they actually taste pretty good. And then my aunt came home and just started freaking out that she's like, you're eating the dog treats. He's like, what are you talking about? She goes, there's a dog on the bag. He goes, I don't know. You put them in the chip cupboard.
That's insane. I was in high school. I freely ate a couple of dog biscuits. I think I ate wet dog food, and my friend said that, oh, if you eat this dog food, I'll buy you like 3 hockey sticks. And I was like, done and done.
Well, yeah, hockey sticks.
Done and done. Yeah, done and done. So turns out I got 3 hockey sticks, and he's currently in jail serving 25 years.
Oh, is that the guy?
Yeah.
Guys, so one day a couple years ago, Chris just starts messaging our group chat. He goes, hey, Mark, can you pull up like legal filings? He goes, this kid I went to high school with, I think he might be in some trouble. Oh, yeah. No, what was it, like kidnapping? Kidnapping?
Here's the story. What he did was he got divorced from his wife, and then he came up with a fake cancer diagnosis for pity to try to win his ex-wife back. And when that didn't work, he put like I don't know if he bought like a voice changer thing.
Oh no.
And then put a bag on his head, and then went to his ex-wife's house, beat her up, and then came back later to try to be the hero. Like, oh no, I saved my ex-wife. Like, this should get us back together. And then it turns out he was when he got arraigned, what solidified the charge was that he denied ever knowing what zip ties were, and then the zip ties they found in his apartment matched the same like plastic profile from the ones around his ex-wife's wrists. So yeah, fun times.
Way to derail. You just exist to derail any sort of conversation. You're like, hey, how can I take this and make it sad?
The Rockpile Report. We are now a murder podcast. We do true crime.
Can we do true crime? We'll get guys. We'll be moving to Sundays here shortly.
I did play hockey with a guy that
we'll get bombed and do true crime.
Well, I did play hockey with a guy that killed his girlfriend in cold blood in front of their kids.
Jesus. See, look at no one can bring a room down the way Chris Kruger does. You really are bad luck, Schlep Rock. I wasn't wrong at the top of this.
You can DM us for the detail. I'll give you the details if you DM us, if you really want to know. And that's for maybe the two women that are watching, Jessica and Lauren.
So there's a writer for The Athletic named Mike Jones who wrote an article about the biggest questions facing each defensive coordinator this season, each new defensive coordinator. And his was interesting because the idea was, can Bobby Babich help elevate a new unit despite losing pieces? Quote here. The Bills' defense is consistently ranked among the NFL's better units under head coach Sean McDermott's watch, but it's undergone a good deal of change this offseason following the departures of Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, and Tre'Davious White. The Bills used draft picks on a safety, Cole Bishop, defensive tackle Dwayne Carter, linebacker Eddie Ulofoshio, defensive end Javon Solomon, and cornerback Daquan Hardy. Babich must work to integrate these prospects, and he must help solve a big question at pass rusher, where the aging Von Miller went without a sack last season opposite of A.J. Epinesa, who had 6.5 sacks. Babich's unit could endure some growing pains in 2024. So, I don't think he's wrong. I actually think it's a pretty fair assessment of what's going on. We've lost a lot of tenured talent. You're trying to incorporate a lot of new faces, not necessarily rookies, but new faces. I think it helps that Taylor Rapp is at least here. And I think the more and more we get down this road, you're looking at a training camp battle of Hardy and Damar Hamlin and Mike Edwards for your free safety. Because I'm pretty sure it's going to be Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop fighting for snaps. It's hard to say that anything is given to a second round pick because we know how this team has treated rookies unless they've had to. I don't know how they view safety. They might look at Taylor Rapp and go, we like you because you're a guy we can call on as our third or fourth or fifth guy, but we don't want you being our starter, which is why we were pumped visibly, if you've watched the Bills Embedded series, pumped to land Cole Bishop. And so in that way, you're going to have a lot of young talent, one way or the other, and a lot of battles playing out over the course of training camp for positions. And that's got to be hard, Chris, if you're stepping in to do the job, right? Just stepping in and saying, hey, I think I can call this defense. And you don't even know who your starting safeties are. You're still learning who you can trust. I think that they're right. But if you listen to his press conference this week, I did like the fact that he acknowledged that kind of dynamic, that, hey, I'm not going to be ready, and that I don't know what I'm doing until I get in there and start doing it. I think that's better than a lot of the guys who kind of carry the, I don't know what you want to call it, the machismo of, oh, it's gonna be fine. I'm good enough to have achieved this rank. I must be good. So therefore, it's like the guys who try to speak positive results into existence. Like we've been hearing it all summer from players. I'm going to have my best year. Minkah Fitzpatrick just the other day is talking about how, man, all I got to do is get back to playing Minkah ball. Minkah ball? Chris, how old is Minkah Fitzpatrick? Because at a certain point, you as a safety who used to be the Swiss Army knife and used to be everywhere making plays, he didn't have a single turnover last year.
He's 27.
He's 27. When you look at the injuries that he's had and some of the things he's done, he's clearly not as athletic as he used to be, which is how he was generating those turnovers. Maybe it's a fluke, or maybe this is just what time does to everybody. So everybody who's just trying to say, like, you're going to see the best version of me. Cam Sutton, who's out there talking about how his Steelers press conference had to get clipped from the official YouTube channel of the Pittsburgh Steelers because he's out there trying to just positive message his way over his domestic violence situation. And it's like, you can talk about how things are going to be great. That doesn't make them so. When the bullets start flying, you're either ready or you're not. And you're either good at this or you're not. And this is going to go well or it won't. I like that Babich's view of this going into it is like mine. I've tried to explain this dynamic to my coworkers. I'm a nihilist. I believe that I embrace the idea we're all going to die. So are all the people who are might remember us and all the things we did. And therefore, a lot of the things that we're going to do don't matter. Because who's going to remember them? So just do them. And even if it doesn't go well, it doesn't matter. Shoot for positive, but if it doesn't land, it's okay. His attitude is, I might be bad at this. I might be good at it. I don't know. We got to get in there and figure it out. I don't expect to be good until it starts going well. I like this. And I ultimately think that when you hear a lot of the things that the players have to say about him, I like that in and of itself. Although I will say Von Miller gave him a vote of confidence the other day, saying that he's been speaking in front of the defense for years and that I'm familiar with him. And now, not only is he deserving of this position, but that he thinks he's going to do great, which almost, if you've been following Von Miller, seems like the kiss of death, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So he's what, Vic Fangio? We're going to fire him at the end of the year now that Von Miller said he likes him? I digress. There's not a whole lot of OTAs that I could give a damn about. One thing that did pique my interest as we kind of wrap a lot of this conversation is if you're a bettor, or you're a gambler, you're somebody who's involved in the action, as they say, BetMGM put out their over-unders for the season. The Buffalo Bills currently sit at 10.5 wins for 2024, according to BetMGM. Now, I'm not overwhelmingly shocked by that, right? Like, I don't think it's the end. Now, Chris, can our viewers see that?
Give me 1 second. Let's see if this...
So Chris is going to do us a favor and put the schedule on the screen for you guys here in a second. But
there we go.
What I want to do is I want to talk about the concept of what 10.5 wins. Like, if you think about what that means, it means you're probably in the thick of the playoff race down to the end of the season. Whether you fall on the right side of it or not, I don't know. It just depends on how bad the NFC is and whether there's a couple divisions that really tank. We've seen that before where the AFC South is so bad that anybody who had them on their schedule by default is in playoff contention because they scored 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 4 victories. So it all comes down to what divisions are strong and weak. I think if you look at it, Chris, the AFC South seems to have been retooling with quarterbacks. The Jaguars are pretty good.
Yes.
They're not great, but they're pretty good.
If you ask CJ Stroud, Josh Allen is not very good.
We'll unpack all of that during another show. That's Ryan Lasel in the chat's going to get all fired up if we start talking about the reasons he might not name Josh Allen in his top 5. But when you look at it, it's like, okay, who do we play? We play the NFC West. Who else? Obviously the AFC East.
The South, AFC South.
The AFC South seems like a division that's taking strides to try to get better. I mean, the Will Levis Tennessee Titans are more threatening to me even without Derrick Henry than they were when they had... There's no Derrick Henry there. Ryan Tannehill on his own wouldn't have moved the needle. Will Levis and those receivers, even though I don't think much of them, I don't know. It's still early in the season when we play them, so the odds are they could still be relatively healthy. But it's a brand new coaching staff. So they could be a complete flop. They could be mildly competitive. They could be one of the best coached teams in that division. It's a dice roll. On its face, the AFC South is improved. The NFC West looks like I don't know. They have the defending Super Bowl runner-up. And then what?
Can I point out what I like about this?
What?
Outside of playing in Buffalo, depending on that New England game to end the season, there's no weather game where they're on the road because they have the Rams in December. Doesn't do anything weather-wise in December, and then the Lions play in a dome. So any type of weather game is going to be here. I do like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. But so rather than try, because I know like WGR has made its bones like picking the Bills, and they go through the schedule and try to figure out like, well, what games do we win? I don't know. I'd prefer more to talk about where does BetMGM see us with this 6.5 games, and which one is the half. So if you, Chris, if you look at this right away, where do you see 6 losses? What's your first one where you look at the game and you go, that's probably a loss?
Honestly, I might go with throw this up again. Jacksonville here.
Really?
That just right now my brain says trap game. Because week 2 is Dolphins. So you're going to want to win that game for a leg up in the East. Jaguars might be a trap game. Can you see that?
For me,
trap game.
I don't understand trap game. They're a team that made the playoffs 2 years ago, and they were in playoff contention until they had one of the dumbest. Like when I say you can lose a dumb football game, the Jaguars lost one of the dumbest and most hilarious to watch football games I've ever seen last year to miss the playoffs. You lost to a lame duck quarterback who knew he was a lame duck. You lost to a team that had nothing to win. And yet you still lost to them. The whole thing was just funny. So I look at this and I say, where do our 6.5 losses come from? I'll tell you that I would, if you're on the road in Baltimore on Sunday Night Football, that's going to be tough. And if you're on the road October 6th against Houston, that's also going to be difficult. I could give you 2. If you're trying to talk about hypothetical losses, those are 2 right there that I go, yep. Those ones jump off the page to me as games the Bills probably could and should lose, given the state of each roster. Then where? So now we're down to 4.5 we got to find. Take a look, Chris. What stands out to you? Anything? I mean, the Bills are going to be one of the most well-rested teams in football, so it's not like we have short windows to contend with. So what are you looking at?
I mean, you could be the...
try to put yourself in their head.
I don't know. The Chiefs could be, but like I like the setup of the Chiefs game because it's Chiefs bye week Niners. So you have a bye week to get ready for the Niners.
I think we have a better chance of winning that Niners
tough.
game. I think we have a better chance of winning the Niners game than we do the Chiefs game. I think for the first time in a while, the Chiefs beat us in the regular season.
Well, usually we handle the Chiefs in the regular season.
What would you call handling? We don't handle the Chiefs. Every single one of those games is must-watch TV. Because it comes down to the wire.
I say handle, that means the end of the game. It says Bills win. That's what that means.
This is why these conversations. I like our listeners to hear this.
Bills win regular season
so
against
that they
the Chiefs.
can understand what I have to deal with in here when I'm trying to have rational football conversation with somebody. Which is why I lose my shit.
When was the last time the Chiefs beat us in the regular season? COVID?
Yes, the COVID year. And even then, it came down to a single-score game because they let us come back at the end. Now, I could see that Chiefs game, or at least them counting one of them. This is where I'm willing to go half, right? Where do you find 2 other losses? Because I think they'll win one of San Francisco or KC. I just don't know which one. But I don't think they'll win them both. Now, give me 2 more losses. Is it the Lions away? The Lions almost beat us when we had a better team. When we had Stephon Diggs making miraculous catches.
Lions could be a loss.
The Lions could absolutely be a loss. Away that point in the season, depending on what the Bills have left to play for.
You got to go to L.A. and then come back and then go to Detroit.
Yeah. It's entirely possible that that's also a loss. So you've got one left that you got to find here. Where do you see it?
Could be the Jets.
So do you think that for another year we split with the Jets?
It's totally possible. That happens all the time with the Jets. We think we're going to go into a Jet game, beat the fuck out of them, and
When Aaron Rodgers tears his
Yeah.
Achilles, and you go, obviously this is a cakewalk now, and somehow you still lose that football game. Like, those are the kinds of things, guys. But 10.5 is still a strong number. It's crazy. Now, here's the question: where are you going to lay your money? Over or under?
Over.
You're taking the over on that.
Yeah.
Guys, what about you in the chat? Over or under?
See, I think the over under scenario, it's going to be under.
Steve Noble in the chat just hit something great. He goes, "We've only lost one game by more than one score in the last 3 years," which may or may not be factually correct, but you're close, Steve. There's been a couple games that got away from us by more than that, but you're right on. The Bills don't lose anything but close games, and that should annoy everybody. But that should also make you somewhat hesitant to double down on the idea that, like, oh, we're just going to run. Because even at full strength, quote unquote, even with the best roster that we could pay for and leverage our future with, we still lost those close games. And so the question becomes, what are we going to do differently? This is where the coaching staff comes in.
Every game last year that we lost was within one score.
Sure. Chris is actively fact-checking
I'm fact-checking you. That's what Republicans do. 2 years ago, also, every loss by one score.
Steve also mentions that Stroud doesn't have Allen in his top 5, but then Nick Wright says that Josh Allen's his number 2 quarterback.
That is correct.
Ultimately, guys,
That Indianapolis beatdown at home was the last multiple score game that we lost.
Okay.
So Steve's right.
Wow.
You're wrong.
Steve,
if you want to host this podcast, if you live in the Buffalo area, please hit me up.
is that how this works? I've been proven wrong as a bloviator behind a microphone with a beer in my hand, and now I have to step down and let some other ass take my seat, grab this beer, and man the ship, sir. Apparently that's how this works. Here's the idea. 10.5 for a team that's going through what we can all call a rebuild. These Vegas handicappers they're looking at things as neutrally as possible. It goes back to what I said last week, even though someone who was in the chat earlier called me a panderer. Said I was pandering to Bills fans looking at this thing. It's like, no. The Bills will be in the conversation at the end of the season. Whether we make the playoffs or not is a dice roll. Whether we win the AFC East is a dice roll. But I'm willing to bet on the people who have done it and the team that has proven they can be double-digit winners every year for how many consecutive years, Chris? How many years? You like to fact check as we close the show out. How many years in a row have the Bills won double-digit games?
5.
Bang.
5, and then 4 of the 5 resulted in AFC East division champions.
So, even if we don't win the division, you mean to tell me that we're not going to be right there in the hunt at the end of the season? And if all of you, the boo birds who go, oh, we're in the hunt again. Do you know where we came from? If a down year, while we retool the roster and free up cap space to make another Super Bowl run, is that we're in the hunt? You've done the job as a GM. You've done the job as a coach. You're doing everything you can. I don't know. If you can't get behind that thought, I got nothing else for you, and I got nothing else to say to you. And so at that point, Chris, I think it's time we let the people be. I know Joe Miller has gone live probably about 20 minutes ago over on his channel. I'm sure you guys would love more Bills conversation. Go check out Joe's podcast. He's live right now with Jerry Ostrowski, who I can't wait to have on this show so I can tell him how my uncle, during a game, I'll never forget it, screamed at the top of his lungs, "Is Jerry strung out?" Because he got a holding call. And I go, do you have any idea how hard that job is? Even as a child, I'm like, I don't know why you're screaming at that guy. He's playing football. You're chubby and drunk. Guys, this has been fun. Thank you for joining us tonight, but we got to get out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. This has been your Rockpile Report.